Good morning. Welcome to Funky Rainbow. All up?
Live when you say 3, 2, 1. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, you're live.
Okay. Welcome to Funky Rainbow. Hi, sorry, it took us a little bit of time to get started. There were some, technical glitches which we were trying to address, and as Muthamas so rightly said, babies giving us a lot of trouble. But it's absolutely delightful, to be here this morning with a new selection of books. Something that we absolutely, haven't done before: baby books. It is, every bazaar for us is like a real treasure hunt. The thing is, we discover books within our own collection. I mean, we have 7,500 plus children's and young adult books in Funky Rainbow's collection. And when we decide on themes of bazaars, which are decided sometimes by dates and important dates that are, that happen that week, or sometimes by requests from people who write in saying, this is what we would like to see featured, or, sometimes when we have a curated collection of books that reflect a particular theme, then that's how we pick and choose, books for a bazaar. And each time, because, there are only limited number of books that we can feature in the course of 2 hours, it is literally quite a treasure hunt at Funky Rainbow's office. To each one, putting out books that they enjoy the most. All of us pick and choose, each one talking about the book, saying, why it fits this particular theme or not. But the baby book bazaar, when we came up with the idea, and, there was a lot of requests for it, actually, we were a bit confounded, because in the Indian children's publishing space, perhaps, we don't have that many books for our littlest readers. I mean, we're talking of books typically, for children in the ages. Today, we're focusing on books for children, babies in the age of 0 to 3, babies and toddlers. The thing is, when we started picking books out, and as I said, when the treasure hunt sort of went on, as it was going on across the week, we uncovered so many little books that we think would work wonderfully well for babies and toddlers. So here we are with the best treasures in our collection. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Bazaar is an initiative to reach books to readers here, there, everywhere. Funky Rainbow is a traveling children's bookshop. And we've been doing events across different schools, different cities, in different public spaces. But thanks to the pandemic, a lot of all of that has pretty much come to a grinding halt. So our bazaar, book bazaar, is really the first of its kind, live on video book show and book shopping experience. And every week we feature books either for different age groups or based on different themes. And we are utterly and absolutely delighted that so many of you join us week after week after week. And so the focus this week, as I said, is for the littlest readers in all our lives, babies and toddlers. And, we firmly believe that you are never too young to read a book. Much as you're never too old to read one, you're never too young to read a book. The thing with youngest readers, and these could be children as young as a month, 10 days, 2 months, 6 months, is that the whole act of reading with the child is such a marvelous bonding experience, be it a parent or an aunt or an uncle, grandparent, sibling. I mean, reading with youngest of children is an absolutely enjoyable experience, and I'm sure several of you will vouch for the fact that it's probably one of the most pleasurable things you've done in your life. And that reading, it's not, it's it, one, of course, it establishes and builds this bond between the person who's reading, to the child, and the child, himself or herself. But what it also does is open the child's world to wonder. That's a small baby hearing, the familiarity of your voice, hearing different sounds, looking at different pictures, and there you are creating a reader for life. So, our selections today are, of course, like I said, pretty much for children in the ages of 0 to 3. Please do check out our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Go to the bargain section that's right up on top and click it. All the books that we're featuring in the Baby Buzzaar today. And there are many that we are never able to talk about because there's always more books than we can talk about. So, you could take a look at all of those and pick up the ones that interest you. I do want to say one thing at this point. Baby books, which are mostly board books or tactile books or touch and feel books, are far more expensive to produce than regular picture books. So many of the books at the bazaar are possibly a little more pricey than the typical books that in our collection. However, each one of them is priceless, and believe me, it's well worth paying for them should you choose to pick it up for the infants in your life. I'm going to start with a personal favorite. I think it's a personal favorite of everyone at Funky Rainbow and has come back onto our shelves after ages. This one is a gorgeous book of rhymes called Olugoti Tolugoti, Indian Rhymes to Read and Recite. This one is published by Tulika Publishers, and it is a most magnificent collection of poems. There are 54 traditional poems from 18 different Indian languages in this collection. And what do these rhymes talk about? There are elephants, there are buffaloes, there are crows, there are cockroaches even, and full of wonderful sounds that we hear around us in India. It could be a cow cow, it could be a kaka, it could be a kukuruku. This book is such a treasure. I'm going to, and of course, each of the rhymes in the book, I mean, they are in English, but they are also they're also put out in Hindi, and there's also a transliteration, of the Hindi, or of the language in English, which means, for instance, if this, this is the, eponymous poem of the collection. It is Olugoti Tolugoti, and you can see that the Olugoti Tolugoti poem has been translated into English. It's also there in the original language that it comes from, which is Assamese, and there is an English transliteration of the very Assamese words. What a treasure trove of a book. It's been edited by Radhika Menon and Sandhya Rao from Tulika, and illustrated by Kshitij Sharma. Just to give you a peek into one of the lovely poems in this collection, is called Dosa Amma Dosa. There are several of us who eat dosas. There are several of us who love eating dosas. And, there are many of you who are possibly already very, very familiar with this poem. The poem in English says, Dosa Amma Dosa, ghee roasted dosa. This flour and that flour mix to make the dosa. 5 for my father, 4 for my mother, 3 for my sister, and 2 for my brother, and 1 big dosa, all for me. Now, the thing is, the text is also here in Tamil, which is my mother tongue. So, I'm, reading that bit out for you. Dosai amma dosai, நெய்ல சுட்ட தோசை, அரிசி மாவும் உளுந்து மாவும் கலந்து சுட்ட தோசை, அப்பாவுக்கு 5, அம்மாவுக்கு 4, அண்ணாவுக்கு 3, அக்காவுக்கு இரண்டு, பாப்பாவுக்கு ஒன்னு. So you see, you can actually read this wonderful poem in translation. You can read it in Tamil. You can also read it transliterated. The Tamil has been put for you in English as well. For those of us who perhaps don't know how to read our mother tongues and would like to read it, this book is absolutely a treasure trove of so many poems from so many different languages. We have Assamia, we have Bangla, we have Gujarati, we have Kannada, we have Tamil. Like I said, 54 traditional rhymes from 18 different languages, most colorfully and gorgeously illustrated. Ulugutti Tolugutti, published by Tulika, and priced at 445 rupees. It's a treasure, it's a real treasure trove, and it's a real keeper. The thing is, as I said right at the beginning of the bazaar, please do check our bargain section on www.funkyrainbow.com. The books are all up at special prices starting today till Friday next week. While we are at rhyme, I'm going to show you another book of rhyme that's absolutely new on our shelves, called Gol Mol Bol. We welcome this publisher onto Funky Rainbow's bookshelves. This is T4 Tales, and they are a small indie publishing house and have done a clutch of 4-5 lovely books for the youngest of readers. The first of which we are featuring, called Gol Mol Bol, which is compiled, it's a collection of rhyme, again compiled by Priti and illustrated by Abhilash. The thing with these books is that there are old rhymes. They say there are old rhymes, but set to new music. In fact, for those of you who pick up the book, you can actually get the free music album on golbolmolmusic.com. I'm just going to, read you the first and lovely, delightful poem, which probably many of us are familiar with. But, it was so nice to read it again after very, very many years. It says, Barish aayi cham cham cham, चाहता लेके निकले हम, पैर फिसल गया गिर गए हम, ऊपर छाता नीचे हम. I mean, just think of the pleasure of reading this lovely poem to a child who is listening to you, to whom your voice is probably that source of aha and wonder. It's a lovely collection of poems like this, and this is a bilingual book, which means the text is there in Hindi, and it's also there in English. The Hindi verse has been transliterated in English, which means it's not a translation. So when we say barish aa gayi cham cham, barish aayi cham cham cham, that's what's written in English as well. Barish aayi chum chum chum. There are some wonderful poems, very bright and lovely, colorful illustrations. The next one is called Badal Garje. And as I said, lovely little poems set in very familiar and wonderful Indian contexts. This one is, again, a nice hardbound book published by T4 Tales, and all of us at Team Funky Rainbow are delighted to welcome them onto our shelves, our bookshelves. Thank you, T4 Tales, for these lovely little books that you have started bringing out. This one is priced at 350 rupees, Gol Mol Bol, published by T4 Tales. And of course, while we are at rhymes, we can't go away, we can't not feature the absolute pioneers in the space of audiobooks, Karadi Tales, and their two excellent, three actually excellent collections of rhymes called Karadi Rhymes, featuring the one and only Usha Uttup. These Karadi Tales were literally the pioneers in audiobooks in the early 90s, doing books along with, at that point of time, cassettes and then subsequently CDs, and then moving on to pen drives, and now the latest edition of Karadi Rhymes, whose picture is flashing up on the screen, has a digital card, which means you just get a number and you can go up to the website, put the number in, and all those rhymes are available, for you to hear. And there are books that accompany those rhymes, which means it's very easy to follow what is being sung. Usha Uttup, I mean, there's not one of us who doesn't love her. She sings with her, with the kind of flair, elan, and absolute rhythm that we love as Indians. And the lovely thing about Karadi's rhymes are, again, so set in India, have such wonderful context. For instance, this one, which is from the first book and the first CD, is possibly one of their really popular ones, and you must try and see if there is a recording of Usha Uttup singing it somewhere on YouTube. But this one is called Just Like You, and it says, "My name is Madhavi, I'm from Alapi, I speak Malayalam, but I'm just like you. My name is Natwar, I'm from Srinagar, I speak Kashmiri, but I'm just like you. My name is Shubhrata, I'm from Kolkata, I speak Bengali, but I'm just like you. My name is Vasundhara, I'm from Vadodara, I speak Gujarati, but I'm just like you. My name is Shamsher, and I'm from Ajmer. I speak Urdu, but I'm just like you. My name is Arundhati. I'm from Guwahati. I speak Assamese, but I'm just like you." What a delightful rhyme. What a wonderful message to send out to the youngest of children. Really, we are a diverse country, and if the more we embrace this diversity and the more we celebrate it, the greater we become, as a country, and the better off we are as people. So this lovely collection of rhymes too, and as I said, these are books and CDs. Like, there's a book and there is a CD with it. This is in book 1, and book 2 again has a book and a CD. And the third one, which has a book and a digital number for you to get onto their site and download the rhymes. And of course, there's one that's come up on the screen, which is book 1 and 2 put together with a pen drive, which means you can put it perhaps, even if you're going out on a long drive, you can play it in your car, use it on your laptop. And this one certainly features wonderful poems that are so familiar to India. Mangoes, going to the beach, Kaka shrieks the crows. Such lovely rhymes for our children. Time really to introduce them to a lot of these over and above the Jack and Jills and the Humpty Dumptys. These are the ones that are closer. The cadences are familiar to to children here, and these are poems that are so rooted in our cultural context. So this was a set of 3 Karadi books, each one priced at 250 rupees. So book come audio, each one priced at 250 rupees, and available at our on our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. The next book that I'd like to feature is actually the next set of books that I'd like to feature is this beautiful box of books called Peek a Book. This one is, it says Peek a Book for Toddlers of All Ages by Kaori Takahashi. Now, this one has been produced by Tara Books, and Tara is really innovative when it comes to doing these wonderful tactile books, as in books that can really open and move in different ways, basically. So I'm going to just show you one of the books in this collection. This one's called Who's Hungry? This is a fabulous book that you unfold, and it's like, you flip it and it becomes so wonderfully interactive. No words, but who's hungry? So take a watch and see who's hungry. Okay, so we've opened one part of it. Now we've opened the next part of it. We're opening another part of it. Of course, many of you already guessed, but imagine the child's pleasure in this. Who is hungry? My God, what a gorgeous. Thank you, Asha. This is an excellent set of books for babies as young as a month. We know you say that from experience. Thank you for saying, for giving us a thumbs up on this book. We absolutely love these delightful flip books from Tara called Peek a Book. Of course, there's a little picture at the back as well, and you can see who is hungry and eating what. Marvelous. We don't have in the Indian context so many books that fold and unfold like this. And these are fairly sturdy hardboard books. So a child can open it and close it several times, without any hassle at all. It has 4 books. Speaker Book has 4 books in it. There's one called Boo, there's one called Birthday Surprise, and there's one called The Tree. This is a gem of a book for our youngest readers, like they say, for toddlers of all ages. But I'll just qualify saying it works for obsolete toddlers who are 50, 60, 70, whatever, because there's that much of a surprise and delight in this set of books. Peek a Book, 4 books in it, and priced at 600 rupees, published by Tara and done by the Japanese artist, writer, illustrator Kaori Takahashi. Fantastic book and a must-have for all of you who are interested in baby books. My next selection of books, any highs and hellos? I can say a quick round of highs and hellos before I get on to the next set of books. Just quickly want to say hello to a couple of you, and we'll get on to the next round of books. We have a very exciting guest, lined up for you. Hi, Mum. So glad that you're here in a baby book bazaar. It's like I said, these books work for adults, obsolete adults as well. And, it's a fantastic. Muttama says she's there for her baby, but well, her baby is an obsolete one as well. Like, thank you for joining. Vasanta Kalbagal, thank you so much for joining us. Anusha Sundaram, absolutely a pleasure to see you. We've seen some of your videos up online and enjoy it considerably. Samir Thakkar, thank you for joining us here this morning. So glad so many of you interested in baby books. It really was the most challenging. Before we started the bazaar, I was telling Muttama and Sham and, Bharti and Sujita that this has been the hardest one to put together in terms of books. And I'm so glad so many of you are here to, see our collection of books. Nirupama Pillai, absolutely a pleasure. Sangeeta Krishnamurthy, big hug going out to one of the big babies in our life. Thank you so much for joining us at the bazaar. Vimla Malhotra and Asha Nehmaya, old buddies, friends, and lovers of baby books like no others. Congratulations to Asha Nehmaya, especially, who's, a new grandma and who has been working with all these baby books, using all these baby books with her grandson. Lovely to have so many of you here this morning. Hi, Shruti Sri Raghunath. Absolutely a pleasure to see you here this morning. Smita says, hello, FR. Lovely to see the books. Some of them are our favorites. Believe me, all of them are our favorites, Smita. And I'm so glad you're here. I know we were chatting yesterday, and I'm delighted to see you here this morning. Shruti, lovely, a big welcome, at a Montessori school. These books, I'm sure, are like Alibaba's cave to you. We are waiting to welcome you at the office, Khulja Sim Sim, and you can walk right in. Sajish, what a pleasure to see a good friend at the bazaar. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. As I said, baby books work for babies from 0 to 100. So, and as Muttama always reminds me, these books are waiting to be taken up to those mountains that you scale so effortlessly. Hi, Trina Mitra. Pooja Ailwadi, such a pleasure to see you after so many weeks at the bazaar. I know you've probably been very, very busy the last couple of weeks. a wonderful treasure trove of books lined up today for all of you. Tanushri Singh, thank you so much for the unstinting support, for sharing our videos every single time, for thinking of Funky Rainbow every single time somebody wants books, and anybody, any manner in which the Reading Raccoons or the Senior Reading Raccoons can collaborate. Thank you so much for thinking of us every single time. I can't tell you how much it matters, to us at a time when the world has become most challenging in multiple ways. So thank you for your constant support. Prabhu Reddy, absolutely a pleasure. Sardul Singh Panesar, lovely to see you. Arundhati Nath, hello, hi. Lovely to see you from Guwahati. And we did already welcome you at the bazaar by singing the Karadi rhyme, which also featured Arundhati from Guwahati. So lovely to see you here this morning, Arundhati. And I know you're working towards setting up a library. They may have Trina Malhotra. Trina, you say it's my first one, but I'm loving this. This is indeed a treasure trove. Thank you so much, Trina. Mutama's niece, family support is the best. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and I'm so glad you're enjoying the bazaar. I hope you'll mark it on your diary and make it a regular feature now. Krupa, what a pleasure to see you here this morning. We really, think of you ever so often when you do those lovely little art, experiments and share them on Facebook. We think some of them would make such lovely books for our babies. You really should consider, especially those sequential stories. I mean, we look at it and I think, my God, what lovely stories these would be for the littlest of readers. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Sudeshna Moitra, Vinoda NK, and Rimjim Tandan. Such a pleasure. Rimjim, I'm so happy to see you. I know we've been in touch considerably in the last couple of weeks. I'm delighted that you've made time. And I do know that you have a young daughter, so perhaps, the books in the bazaar will be of interest to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to move to another publisher who's been in existence for quite a few years now, but whose books have come on Funky Rainbow, on Funky Rainbow's shelves. We did have some of their books earlier, and then, we couldn't, for some reason, source them and get them, on our shelves. But we are back. Their books are now with us. So we really do want to extend a warm welcome to Little Latitude Publishers, whose wonderful books, all board books, are completely in our collection and on our bookshelves right now. Kripa, you said, you love us. All that love right back at you, Kripa. Thank you so much. So I have two beautiful, Little Latitude books that I want to share with you, as part of this collection. This is from the Anahi and Veer collection, and this one is called If There Was One Thing I Could Be, written by Kalpana Subramaniam and illustrated by Prashant Miranda. And this one is If There Was One Place I Could Be, again written by Kalpana Subramaniam and illustrated by Prashant Miranda. Such beautiful books they are. I just have to show you, how lovely and gorgeous the illustrations in the book are. Such clean, wonderful lines, handsome productions from Little Latitude. Now, these books are essentially beautiful rhymes, and I'm going to read you two lines, from If There Was One Thing I Could Be. Just look at the gorgeous cover. I mean, look at all this beautiful nature. Prashant Miranda's lines, Prashant Miranda's colors, they are just absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So this one is, if there was just one thing I could be, I'd like to be perched atop a tree. Take a guess. You're right, I'm a bird. I mean, just imagine how much fun your toddler or infant is going to have, listening to, this rhyme being narrated by you. Prashant Miranda and Kalpana Subramaniam's lovely book, If There Was One Thing I Could Be. Again, there is a pair book with this, which is called If There Was One Place I Could Be. And just look at the start pages. I mean, how beautiful are these illustrations, these beautiful white, absolute white backgrounds, but warm pastel shades. I mean, the books are such a treasure to behold. Now, this one says, if there was one place I could be, I think it would have to be under the sea. And then there's, which is like this. This is what the illustrated spread looks like. Gorgeous. And then it says, if you think there's nothing there and you see, you can see what is happening, you're in for a surprise. And I'm not going to read further because board books are small, simple, rhymes. And these ones are such a treasure, basically. Both priced, each one priced at 500 rupees and available at special discounted prices at our bazaar. Like I said, Little Latitude's productions are just very handsome. And I think, investing in this book when your child is young is, because of how handsome they are and how good they are, sturdy they are as books, you're going to be able to keep it for quite a few years till your child is older. Each one priced at 500 rupees from Little Latitude, written by Kalpana Subramaniam and illustrated by Prashant Miranda. The third book in the series, again, of course, is possibly not. Of course, I forgot to mention that each of the books feature characters called Anahi and Veer. There's a boy and there's a girl, and they're called Anahi and Veer, and the series itself is called the Anahi Veer, the world of Anahi and Veer. One more in that selection, If I Lived in a Tree House, again by Prashant Miranda and by Kalpana Subramaniam and Prashant Miranda. And such, If I Lived in a Tree House, look at this beautiful double spread, which says, if I lived in a tree house, I would spend all day eating mangoes and bananas and watching monkeys play. Really, words that just roll off your tongue. Beautiful illustrations like this that absolutely would capture a young child's attention and imagination most marvelously. If I lived in a forest, who would live with me? A tiger or an elephant could keep me company. Very, very lovely rhymes and, great board books from Little Latitude, priced at 500 rupees. Hi, Archana. Good to see you here. Lovely that you've managed to join us this morning. To some of our funkiest friends out there, the whole group of bookwalis, Smita, you, Joanne, and Jyoti, a big hello goes out to you, funkies, actually. Thank you so much for joining us. I am going to, go back to two more rhyme books again. This one is a lovely rhyme, which possibly many of you are familiar with. This one is called Akkad Bakkad. It's actually an all-time favorite Punjabi rhyme, and it has been made into this lovely little board book, and I think many of us would be familiar with these lines, right? Akkad Bakkad Bombay Bo 80 90 100 oh. I mean, India is so well known for these sounds. We happily adapt words to suit our languages, our cadences, our ways of speaking. And I think this charming number rhyme, Akkad Bakkad, which has been illustrated by Shreya Sen, again a board book from Tulika, is a great, it's a bunch of numbers having the time of their life, and I can literally imagine doing a bhangra to this lovely rhyme. Akkad Bakkad, published by Tulika and priced at 295 rupees. Our next book from Tulika again is another collection of rhymes called Dum Dum Dho. This is, again, it just the very title of it, the beats of the drum, the swirly whirl of rhythms and rhymes for our little ones. This has a wide variety of writers, so many of our well-known writers, writing wonderful India-centric rhymes for children. There's Sandhya Rao, there's Zai Whitaker, there's Manjula Padmanabhan, there's Deepa Balsavar, and again there's Jiva Raghunath. There are rhymes from different languages, but all of these are in English. There are rhymes from Assamese. I can see there are rhymes from Telugu. There are rhymes from Bengali. There are rhymes from Hindi, Punjabi, and very, very nicely illustrated as well. I think this one's been illustrated by Anjora Norona. And just look at these beautiful illustrations. Also look at the look at the setting, look at the context. These are tabla. There's a tabla out there, there's gungrus here. I mean, such a great way to introduce children to rhymes in the Indian context. This book is full of sounds, wonderful sounds. And actually this one was put together by Tulika, for those of them who wanted a smaller selection of rhymes from the Olugotti collection. Of course, this book doesn't feature the transliterations. It doesn't feature them in the original languages, but it has them all in translation. Lovely book, Dum Dum Dho. The title itself, should make a child look up, however young, even if the child's just looking at you, I feel, there's going to be like a spark or like some way of showing that, she or he, is connecting with you. Rhymes and rhythms from India, Dum Dum Dho, at 345 rupees, published by Tulika. The next book that we are going to feature is a lovely interactive book, again from T4 Tales, called Chuglu Buglu. I mean, it's been, the books this time, the rhymes this time, they are lovely tongue twisters for us as well. So imagine how much the youngest of readers would enjoy it. This one is written, illustrated, and created by Alankrita Amaya, a lovely, wonderful, talented artist and illustrator. And this one begins, of course, by saying, Kaun hai ye chuglu buglu? So Kaun hai ye chuglu buglu is written in Hindi right here, and written, transliterated, that is written in English, saying Kaun hai ye chuglu buglu. And as you can see, we're trying to guess Kaun hai ye chuglu buglu. I'll move one to the next page, and it says Aankhe jaise koi ullu. Aankhe jaise koi ullu. And look what you can do. Ullu ke aankhe is taraf us taraf. The owl's eyes are moving this way and that way. So lovely, so nice to find these flips and these little I mean, I spent all of last week opening and closing and working with all of these lovely little books. I mean, it really has a lot of. Okay, one more page, because you should. And look at that. This one says, Neele Neele Gaal Hai Do, and which is Neele Neele Gaal Hai Do. And then look what you can do. Hathi Jaise Gol Matol. You have to lift the flap and see Hathi Jaise Gol Matol. How lovely is this interactive book? I mean, introducing you, taking you into the world of colors and into the world of animals, beautifully put together. And of course, we're not going to tell you kaun hai wo chuglu buglu, kaun hai ye chuglu buglu. You have to pull the flaps, you have to lift the tabs, and you have to find out with your toddler kaun hai ye chuglu buglu. Published by T4 Tales and created by Alankrita Amaya, priced at 499 rupees. It's a magnificent interactive book, and I think you'll absolutely enjoy the experience of working with this interactive book, with your child and even yourself. I'm very, very sure of it. The next set of books that we want to move to, yes, is an old favorite from Tara, called Tiger on a Tree. What a beautiful book this is. I mean, this is yet I have in my own 15-20 years of working with children, known of many children who have started listening to this rhyme right from the day that they are born. And they go on even when they're 5, even when they're 7, wanting to read this book because it becomes so familiar to them, having after having introduced it to them when they are absolute infants. It's written by that wonderful poet writer for children, Anushka Ravishankar, and illustrated by Pulak Biswas, who is definitely one of our favorite illustrators. In fact, Sham at Funky Rainbow just looks up to Pulak Biswas as his guru and mentor and guide. What gorgeous illustrations! Look at the colors. Look at, there's just black and one tinge of yellow or orange in the book, and you can see what large text there is about this tiger on a tree. What happens? Why does the tiger get on a tree? Is it true that a tiger can actually get on a tree? What a marvelous rhyme this is. I tell you, a very, very dear friend whose daughter must be possibly 21 or 22 now, started to had this book read out to her when she was barely a month old, and even today remembers the book so fondly and wants to keep a copy in her collection. Vimla, you say it's one of your favorites at Hippocampus. I can well imagine. It's you've been here for so many, many years. I can imagine that you've seen entire generations of kids grow up on reading Tiger on a Tree. Kripa says, what a party at Funky Rainbow. Love when we can start this way. Seriously, the next time we're going to add some music and put some festoons and break out into a bhangra while we are ourselves, showcasing these books. It really is everything. We work right through this week to make. Hmm? Okay, we work right through this week to make work right through the week to make this party possible in the weekend. So yes, Vimla, gorgeous, lovely book called Tiger on a Tree, written by Anushka Ravishankar, illustrated by that wonderful master illustrator Pulak Biswas, and a great wonderful rhyme to read to your children. And as I was saying about this friend, because the mother and child started reading when the child was just a few days old, it's really remarkable. I have seen her read to her daughter even when she was 12, 13. They made it this beautiful family bonding activity. Whatever book you're reading, maybe an Agatha Christie, maybe like a new young adult novel, it's just so lovely to be read to, irrespective of what age you are. So these bonds, they really get formed right from the time your child is born, and these are those wonderful books that absolutely help you forge those bonds with your children. This book, as I said, is a treat to listen to, and it's also a treat to see. I know there is one aspect of the illustration that I do want to talk about, but our guest for the day, Ramya, is going to focus on it with another book. So as soon as she comes up online, which will probably be in another 7-8 minutes, we will let her explain something about the illustrations. This one's published by Tara and priced at 250 rupees. Two more board books in our collection, which we, again came in from T4 Tales. Lovely, books. Again, two rhymes. This one called Das Din, which is English Hindi, and this one called Pattu Natkal, which is English Tamil, written by Pridi, and who's also one of the founders of T4 Tales, and illustrated by Alicia Souza. The thing with Das Din, again, is, it's a great, lovely rhyme again, and I'm just going to give you two lines as always. Do din se tha bistar par leta. Oh no, दो दिन से था बिस्तर पर लेटा. You can see कौन बिस्तर पे लेटा हुआ है, who is lying on the bed. 3 डॉक्टर देखने आए. And what happens? So 2 दिन से लेटा था बिस्तर में, and what happens? What can you do to find out कि sorry, Look at what happens to the thermometer. Aage piche, muh ke andar, inside your mouth and outside your mouth, inside your mouth and outside your mouth. So somebody is not well, and there is a doctor who is visiting him. And voila, there is a flap that you can lift to see there are who are the teen doctors are, who the three doctors are. Such, you lift the flaps, you pull the tabs, and this beautiful interactive book tells you the story in Hindi in this edition, and in Tamil in this one, which is Pattu Natkal, which you can also see again. The text is there here in English, and it's also there in Tamil. In English, it's not a translation, it's a transliteration. So we can read over here in Tamil saying, Rajavirku chella pillai ondru. The Raja had a pet son, a favorite son. And such a lovely, wonderful book. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to open the first page in the Hindi one and read out from Do. Ek tha Raja ka beta, and then you move on to 2, do din se tha bistar pe leta. So from there on, you find out what happens in Das Din or Pattu Natkal. This one, each of the books are priced at 499 rupees. Fabulous interactive books to add to your collection. We are, now getting ready for our guest of the day to join us, and I'm going to give you a quick introduction to her and let her recommend some of the books that she has chosen as her favorites. Now, Ramya is somebody that we absolutely, are delighted to have met at Funky Rainbow a year ago, possibly, right? Pretty much, or maybe a little bit more than a year ago, basically. And she is the founder of this wonderful Montessori school called Zero Limits in Bangalore. The thing is, we were in touch with them prior to going to the school, and one of the things that all of us at Funky Rainbow absolutely, felt when we went to Zero Limits was the great connection between what we are trying to do as Funky Rainbow and what they are doing at Zero Limits Montessori. I mean, a lot of people think that we are just, that amongst other books, we also sell Indian children's books, or we also promote Indian children's books. Actually, that's not true. The whole ethos of Funky Rainbow is set on the fact that we believe that Indian children's books, your children should be introduced to them because they give you the kind of roots and the cultural, resonances that we want our children to grow up with. No harm in reading, Western books, and you must. We all devour them. And I'm sure in the baby books and board books context, there are such magnificent books that are available in the Western context as well. But we firmly believe that, Indian children's books give your children the roots that will make them better global citizens when they go out into the world. And this connection was so evident in our conversations with Ramya, with her colleague Padmaja, who was pretty much, instrumental in helping us make this bridge with Zero Limits Montessori. And we are delighted that 1 year down the line, even if you're not at your school, you are here joining us at Funky Rainbow. Ramya, what a pleasure. An absolutely, warm welcome to you. I would...
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you so much.
I would definitely like to add that besides being a great Montessorian, Ramya started off being a number cruncher. I didn't know this till yesterday. She said she was a tax analyst, and I'm like, oh my God, what were you doing in the world of taxation when you could have well been in the world of books and children? Fortunately for all of us, Ramya too discovered, and I'm sure it is the tax world's loss, but we are very happy that it is our gain. that she went on to become a Montessori educator, trained herself in different Montessori methodologies, and in fact, even presently is doing a course for 0 to 3 year olds, and on how to be impactful, an impactful parent and an impactful educator, I'm sure. One final qualification, which is possibly the biggest reason that she's here with us, is she's mum to 6 month old Kian. And it's absolutely lovely. Oh, they. As you
Enjoying
can
the
see,
book.
that's lovely, little Kian. And, she has used so many of these books and so many of her experiences bringing him up as a mother. So we will, take the conversation over to her. She has some wonderful books to recommend. Would you like to say something before we start off, Ramya?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Vidya. What you said is absolutely true. It's been a great journey with you all the last 1 year. And like you were mentioning, I think we should talk about it a little. Like you were mentioning, the whole factor of having your roots strong is very, very important. And the age group of 0 to 3, when they're adapting to their new environment, having been born into the world, and they're getting used to this whole idea of, okay, where am I? Right? So you are exposing them to your immediate family, to your extended family, friends, and the society that they are born into. And when you take that and you're doing this book reading session with them, and you make sure that there is something which correlates to what they see out there in the world, definitely they feel that, lack of a better word, apnapan. They feel that sense of, oh, okay, this is something I saw out there. Oh, this is something that Mama was wearing the other day. So I think that Indian books for this age group are really good. And when they feel that sense of belonging, then yes, they can be great global citizens. So I love your books, absolutely love them. And must also mention that when we started off Zero Limits, we had a lot more Western authors. We definitely had Tulika Publications because that's what I was familiar with. And then when Padmaja introduced me to Funky Rainbow, oh, the world really, I mean, the books were amazing. And then when I took it back to school, I definitely saw a change in my, sessions, story sessions, where the children could connect better with the books. The children were far more delighted to see an elephant or a crow or a Indian setting picture. I could see them paying more attention, and they were far more excited with these books. And I was like, okay. So that connect you could really see with these books. So thank you so much for bringing in so many Indian authors, Vidya. You're doing a fabulous job. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Ramya. And, it's been a pleasure to collaborate. We know post pandemic too, these collaborations will continue because these
Yes,
bonds, the last year was our baby year with you. Now we are
yes,
1 year older and, a wonderful journey that can begin, with Zero Limits. I loved what author Asha Nehemiah said in her post when she shared the post about the baby bazaar. She says there should be zero limits for parents and adults when it comes to children's books. So, I mean, that's really, encapsulates exactly what we want for children. And we'll start off with our conversation because I
yes,
know you have lots of interesting things to say about the books that you have chosen.
yes,
So I'm going to put my first question out to you, and I know that you're going to respond using one of the books that you had chosen to each of these questions.
yes.
So the first one is: rhyme is obviously both enjoyable and important for our youngest readers. Can you tell us why that is the case?
So language is hello. Sorry. Yeah. So language is definitely a form of music. Speech is music, right? So the book Puni Puni, I just absolutely love that book. There is so much of repetition. The book is absolutely poetic for the young reader. And whoever reads it, automatically voice modulation is default. The words used in these books automatically makes the adult, go meow, or boo, right? And that definitely catches the young reader's attention. So they're like, oh, what is that noise? That's not how they normally speak to me, right? And their attention is drawn to that book. So this book is a definite must have for a child below 3. And also another thing that I love about this book is the roller coaster of emotions that is displayed. In the beginning, she's like, oh, where is my cat? And then she's like a little worried. And then there is this little bit of tears. There's that grief that comes in. And then she's extremely happy. Oh, yay, I found my cat. Right? So that roller coaster of emotions is so beautifully displayed in this book, which is again something which the children need to understand to process. So definitely an amazing book to have for a child below 3.
Lovely. This one is published by Tulika and priced at 295 rupees. Again, a lovely board book, Puni Puni, Where Are You? It came as a result of two other picture books that they had created with Puni. And because Puni became so popular, and we will recommend those books, later in the program if we have time. But because they became so popular that they decided to do this board book for the littlest of readers. I know, we have often discussed this thing about sounds. The
Yeah.
thing is, as you say, India is so full of noisy sounds here, there, everywhere. And our sounds are hardly simple. Even from the time the baby is born, we're looking at sounds like kukraku, which means that those multi-syllable sounds are a part of our growing up. And I know that you have always in fact, you put it so well, the other day, where you said it's, we must not look at sounds as phonics. I mean, not saying that we must not look at it as phonics, but what you say at the first stage is that they are human sounds, and that, they need not be looked at only from a schooling perspective. So tell us, why these sounds and these cadences are so important to us and
So
to our children, of course.
yes.
Sorry.
So based on the second book that we chose, right? The uh, uh,
A, a busy
Busy
animal
Animal
alphabet.
Alphabet. Yes, sorry, a Busy Animal Alphabet. And in that book, when you look at it, even though at the first go, when you're looking at that book, it looks like a typical schooling book, A, B, C, D, or alphabet with names. It is more to do with how you pronounce those words, like the alligator, astronaut, right? And then we say, oh, is that phonics? Is that what I want to teach my child? No, we're looking, like you said, it's human sounds, right? The sound that I make when I speak. And this is what the young child is trying to replicate, right? Child below 1 year old is making so much of sounds, trying to replicate what they listen to. So in this, I have to share something that happened. Thanks to the current situation, we were making this online video for our parents, and I had this Montessori material T, and we were tracing it, and I was saying and while I was recording this video on one side of the hall, Kian was playing at the background, and he was about 4.5 months. And I'm going, and suddenly I hear from the back. And I'm like, okay, wait, what just happened? Did he just make that noise? And it was an amazing, I was like, oh, so you're never too young, right? And he's listening intently to the sound which is there in his environment, and he's picking it up, right? So I felt with this book, the young child really gets to listen to the mom or the adult who's reading to them, the sounds that we make. And inevitably, when we are reading to a young child, we definitely slow down the pace. We don't talk fast paced, right? So we're saying it slowly. And as you're saying it slowly, they are picking up on those sounds, which definitely helps in language development for them. And that's what they are looking for. They're looking to, build themselves every second of the day. So I think that way it really helps for the child below 1. And for the child between 1 and 3, that correlation happens. Oh, I'm saying and there's an alligator. I'm saying and then there's a bat, right? There's a correlation, and they understand that words are made up of sounds, and they're slowly getting that all together. So none of these things, it's way too much. Obviously, if you start, this is just for us, but that's how much the child picks up from a book as simple as busy alphabets. I think
Lovely.
it's a very beautiful book, must have book for a young child. Definitely. Yeah.
So this is a busy alphabet by Christy Olson Kennedy and Ariel North Olson, and illustrated by Isuri Merenchi Hevage. Both, it's a collaborations between, a Japanese illustrator and American writers, but brought out by an Indian publisher. A very amusing ABC book featuring incredible animals, like Ramya said, and more importantly, just incredible sounds. My next question to you is that, in the last 4 5 years, we have seen a lot of wordless picture books, coming into the market from different Indian publishers. Now the thing is, as an adult, I know that a wordless picture book is rich in creativity and imagination. Do you think they work for toddlers and babies as well?
It definitely does. One of my favorites is when you have those wordless books. Really challenges the adult's imagination. But at the same time, for the young child, especially the toddlers, they get to look at that book. And every time I have witnessed this happen, where they are, telling a younger child a story of their own. And when the adult is with them, each time you're revisiting this book, you could add a few more details. It's not like when we look at a script, we're just reading that, we're doing a lot of things, but we don't normally tend to add to that book. So with Amama Sari, for example, it's a completely such a beautiful book, and every time you're opening that page, you could just add another detail, and you could add another detail. And the world of possibilities with a wordless book is like something else. And with this book, I really love the fact that you have so much of those illustrations, like the tailoring machine, which I don't know if today I'm even going to get to see. Right, so there's so much in there for them to see. They're seeing how the sari can be reused in different ways. So the first time when the baby or the toddler is looking at it, they're probably looking at the human figures. The second time, they're looking at the inanimate objects. Then they're looking at, oh, what's happening to this sari, right? So the book has scope for so much of exploration. And also, when there is no words, the attention is more to the picture. So definitely wordless books takes it to another level, with especially the toddlers.
That's lovely. So this one is Amama Sari, created by Nivedita Subramaniam, a beautiful book, like she just said, about a sari, Amama Sari, which has a hole in it, and how then it goes on to multiple uses. And like you said, the lovely thing about wordless books is the fact that there is no right or wrong story. It's open to interpretation. It's open to your imagination. Published by Tulika and priced at 165 rupees. I know one thing that we have constantly discussed, and I think even when we were at Zero Limits, with many parents, this thing about introducing young children, to multiple languages. We know Indians are almost, we're all perfectly bilingual or multilingual in most instances. I mean, we hear English, many of us, but we also hear our mother tongues. So what do you feel? Do you think it's important to introduce our youngest readers to multiple languages? And if you think it should be done, why should it be done?
So I'm going to start by going a little scientific. The brain definitely is capable of handling different languages at a young age. So you need to think, how did my child, or how did I pick up on my mother tongue, right? And let's say you're trying to learn a language when you're 18. Was that easy? Or was it easy when you were 1 year old, right? So the
Right.
brain is capable of picking up as many as 10 to 12 languages before the age of 6. So why, when we are in a country where we have so many different languages, why would we not introduce our youngest children to it? Right? That is when they're easily picking up on the language. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us have these kind of stories, having been brought up in India, that I was brought up in, for example, Karnataka. I never spoke Kannada in my house, but as an adult, I found that I could speak Kannada, right? And not even sure where and when I picked it up. Yeah, just that exposure is so important. And more so, it has been proven that when you're multilingual, your ability to multitask, the brain is wired very differently for a multilingual child as opposed to when you're just monolingual. So definitely, expose them to languages. Always have to expose them to languages. So in that pretext, definitely, again, in school as well, at home as well, you want to read all languages that you can possibly expose them to. So if on that, we want to look at Watch Out, the Hindi language, right? It's a beautiful book where you're reading it in English maybe once, and then at another time you're reading it in Hindi. So the child is able to pick up on that language.
That's right. So this is a lovely story about a lioness who is off to hunt and her cubs are off to play. So is the jungle safe? Beautifully written by Shamim Padamsi and bilingual. So there's Watch Out and Savdhan. This is only one of the languages in which it is, we are showing it to you, but it is available in different Indian languages. So perfectly bilingual, where the text is in English and in a couple of, one or two lines later, also in Hindi. Lots of bilingual books in our collection. And this one published by Tulika Publishers, written by Shamim Padamsi and illustrated by Ajanta Guha Thakurta, meant for 2+ year olds and priced at 125 rupees. We just had a parent pop in and say, she picked up an English Telugu book last week, Ruchi Agarwal, who picked up an English Telugu book last week and says that she considerably enjoyed the experience of reading it with her child. So good to see that parents are heeding that suggestion that you're making. Of course, I know one of your most favorite books from our collection is something that you read extensively in school and at home as a parent. An Indian Beach. I have even no question for you about it because I feel you can talk for an entire hour about that gorgeous book. But please do tell our parents, and we do want to show a picture of you using it with Kian. I mean, it is like the best mood lifter, for us to see these wonderful photographs, frankly. So, yes, even as you start off telling us about Indian Beach, we'll put out a picture of how you're using it with little Kian.
So, if there's a book anyone should have in their library, it is Indian Beach, hands down. It is a book, I'm just going to add this as well. It is a book which you can start using from the day they are born. And I have also seen my 10-year-old and 12-year-old niece, enjoy this book. So it has so many possibilities. It's an absolute delight. For starters, as you can see, it's a black and white book. So when the child the initial few days, they can see the extreme colors more clear than the other colors, right? So that is why we have the Montessori Munari mobile, or we say black and white cards. So I used this book quite a bit with him. So those early months, you just place it there for them to just get a glimpse of it. And they are so taken by those shapes and those figures and just the whole contrast of the colors. So it can be used in those early days. Like you can see, I've put him inside the book, a book where you can literally say that, you put the baby inside the book. Right? So you put him inside it, and it really encourages them to even pivot, right? So he tends to try to move on his tummy to look what's behind him, what's on the side. So this is a book which he wants to engage with. It promotes that gross motor development as well. And yes, those amazing fishes and all of those illustrations in that book, absolutely amazing. And another most important factor of this book is you could actually put them in that book, and you could be doing your chores close by, or you could be doing something else, and the child definitely at this point does not look at the adult, right? So this is one book which is not very adult driven as well. It is something which they engage with on their own from very early on. And as they grow up, you have the day and night concept. You have all the things in on the beach. I know my 4 5 year olds who used to enjoy coloring that book, right? So there is so much that you could do with this book, and it will stay on the shelf for minimum 12 years. I can say that. I've seen it being used across. So any book, if one should have, it's definitely the Indian Beach, hands down.
How lovely is that, really, as you say, to divide it in this manner where what is inside is actually what is underwater, and what
Yeah.
is outside is what is on the shore, basically. And as you so rightly said, day and night, day is what you're seeing outside, and night, because everything is a little bit dark, is inside, so many million ways. And look at the tactile way, as you have, so that photo of Kian was just wonderful. You could make it into a star shape. I know one parent said she folded it like a star, basically, and put her child in the middle of it. I mean, that picture of Kian looking at the picture so closely is just a sheer proof of the fact that such a book in the Indian context is so welcome, and it's such a wonderful treasure to add to our libraries for children. And as you have so rightly said, going up to 12 years now, really, so nobody has any reason to complain. Ages 1 to 12, that's like a very, very and this one is
Ages
the
day one.
day one, yes. Published by Tara Books and done by Joël Jolivet. It's called An Indian Beach by Day and Night, priced at 400 rupees, published by the wonderful Tara Books. It was so informative to hear you say, talk about the things that you spoke about, Ramya. There are a few things that at Funky Rainbow, we personally believe, what has happened is a lot of us have grown up with many Western concepts of what is right and wrong when it comes to reading. However, the Indian cultural context is quite different. And, we really do believe that many of these books are more relevant, to our children, simply because this thing about, as I said, multi-syllable sounds, typically they would say you don't introduce a child to multi-syllable sounds, but our names, starting just from our names, Ramya, Ram, Mohan, like, okay, how many syllables in those sounds, right? So the thing is, it's great that educators like you and schools like yours have recognized it and are now putting in a wonderful mix of Indian and Western books into your collection.
Like you were mentioning, we are brought up with the sound of the anklet, right? You
Mm.
listen to those, and we're used to saying things like chal chal. Whether we that's us, and there is no reason why we shouldn't. And like I mentioned, I have seen at school when I introduced Funky Rainbow books, the Indian author books, there was an instant connect, which definitely they enjoy the Western authors. I'm not saying they don't, but there was that connect from deep within when they and that color, uh, the elephant book. Sorry, the Kalakalush, and
Kalabalush, yeah,
it's
Kalicha
so,
Kulicha.
the entire class would laugh. It's so amazing to hear that, and it's something which we relate to, right? And it's also very important to keep that going. And this is the age where they're like, oh, okay, this is how it is, and yeah, we have, okay, this is not to be used and that is not to be used. I think with children and books, we all those rules should go out the window. We should just whatever
Be
makes them happy
experimental.
and whatever they relate to, definitely we should keep that. And I am so
Lovely.
grateful for having found Funky Rainbow for that. I have seen that difference in the children, and thank you so much for
The gratitude is mutual. We are so grateful to have found a lovely school like yours, and really more power to Zero Limits Montessori. Thank you so much
thank you
for,
so much.
as I've said in several bazaars, we can showcase these books in the bazaars, but all of you teachers, parents, librarians, educators, uncles, aunts, grandparents out there, you're the ones who are using it with the children, and we are so glad that there are so many of you out there. Thank you so much for joining us for this lovely session, Ramya. It's been a
Thank you so
pleasure
much.
having you at our Baby Book Bazaar. Everybody at Funky Rainbow puts their hands together for you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. See you.
See you. Yes, we will. Thank you so much for listening in to those words of wisdom from Ramya Ram Mohan, from real practitioners, mother to a 6 month old child and a Montessori educator. I did see Joanne's comment saying that it is Maria Montessori's birth anniversary on the 31st. Hooray, really. And I'm so glad it was just serendipitous. We have a Montessori educator who, absolutely believes in Indian children's books. Thank you so much for listening in, all of you. A quick round of hellos before, we get on to more baby books. I know we have just another half hour to go there. Hi, Mahalakshmi, Shankara Krishnan, lovely to see you. Ranu Banerjee, Reddy Shri, Vijay Kant, Vijay Lakshmi Nagaraj, absolutely delighted to see you here this morning. Smita Indra and Annapurna Das. I know, Annapurna, you've discovered many books through Funky Rainbow, and I did see you saying that some of these concepts are so wonderful and you're glad that they are being introduced to you. We're so glad you are here. The whole purpose of the bazaar is to really showcase the diversity and the variety that exists in Indian children's books for all of you book lovers and readers out there. Rachna Kittur, Shubha Sarathi, Sumitra Ma'am, Diksha Rastogi, Purva Dhadfale, Padma Baliga, Ami Shankar, and Tulsi Ram Mohan. Some friends who've been with us at all the bazaars, and some new people who are here this morning. Thank you so much for making our book bazaar such a resounding success. I mean, with much trepidation at the time of the lockdown, when we really, the wheels of our book truck, we actually have a big red book truck and we go here, there, everywhere with books, in our book truck, going to schools, to public spaces, to libraries, to parks, and, do events to introduce children to contemporary Indian books. But with the pandemic, all that came to a grinding halt. The bazaar was, is literally a first of its kind live on video book shopping experience, and there's the whole world of people like each one of you out there that recognizes this initiative and has been so supportive of us. Big baby hug goes out to each one of you for supporting Funky Rainbow through what is a very, very challenging year for us. I will move, into more recommendations of baby books at the moment. Again, another beautiful one, from Tara. And oh, I should have not taken it out, but well, you can see it this way. You can see that the number 10 is actually imprinted on it. This one by Marion Bataille is a beautiful pop-up book, quite like nothing that we have seen. Obviously, it's a book that says 10, which means you probably you know that it's a number book. Just look at the wonderful way in which this stark number book is made. You can, of course, see that this is the numbers 01. But just lift a flap and look at what that number becomes. Just look at the craft of this magnificent book. I mean, can you even imagine making cardboard move this effortlessly, basically? Look at this. You are at 2, all right? And bingo, what does it become? 9. I mean, it's just an exquisite work of art. that really introduces your children to the numbers. You can read it backwards, forward. You can do it any which way. I'm holding the book backwards. I'm holding it forwards. I'm doing 1 to 10, 0 to 10 like this, and I can still simply do it this way as well. I mean, what an exquisite work of art. It is easily one of the most beautiful pop-up books that we have at Funky Rainbow. It is, in fact, she is a best-selling author of another book, which I think is not in print. It's called AB 3CD, I think, AB3CD, not in print presently, but this one called 10 is a beautiful exploratory book, on numbers, lovely board book format. And of course, as it's not easy to shape paper or card to move in the manner that you want it to move, and you can see that this imaginative and very sophisticated book is able to do that, which makes it a little bit pricey, but available at excellent discounts at Funky Rainbow's Buzzaar today. This one is priced at 750 rupees. Our next set of books that we're showcasing is again a new set of absolutely new on Little Latitude's catalog called Chacho. The character of the book is called Chacho, and there's Chacho in the woods, Chacho in the Amazon, and Chacho at the pole. It is so beautifully illustrated. So Chacho is, of course, a rabbit bear. And as you already know from the titles that I've given you, he's quite an adventurous rabbit bear. He's a small rabbit bear, and he goes on long journeys to extraordinary places, and he's curious as any child would be. I think the illustrations in the book, these are done, the book has been written and illustrated by Sarah Khoury, and the illustrations just take your breath away. Such realistic, beautiful illustrations. In fact, Sarah Khoury, who's created the books, is an Italian illustrator and, presently based in France. Just look at these pictures. They had us riveted for hours. Beautiful book, very little text in it. There's just a single line that accompanies this, these gorgeous illustration, and it is about exploring different things. Curious Chacho in the forest, and what is he doing alone in the forest? Basically it begins with him following a butterfly. What fluttered past? That's what the first page says, a butterfly, and therein begins a journey. He says, I'll follow fast without a sound, and therein lies a beautiful journey that any curious young child would enjoy. Chacho, of course, also travels to the Amazon, and there is, as I said, look at the profusion of green and color on these pages where Chacho goes off to the Amazon. How does he get to the Amazon? A bright red feather transports him to the Amazon, to where it seems that everybody lives on trees. Beautiful book, beautiful journey, marvelous adventure, and my God, the most spectacular illustrations I've seen in recent times. And there's Chacho at the pole, which is so lovely. It plays with the concept of white. He's at the pole, and of course it begins with a huge burst of color, because on a nice windy day, Chacho gets swept away, and he goes away to the pole, and it's quite difficult for him to spot things at the pole. And of course you can see the breathtaking illustrations that recreate creatures in each of these locations, and also the environment so beautifully. Just fantastic books for our youngest readers. The Chacho series, priced at 500 rupees each, by Sarah Khoury, and gorgeously produced by Little Latitude. 3 books in the Chacho series. You know what? Just buy all three of them. That's it. Like, no words, only to, I mean, you can keep looking at it with your child forever and ever. They are such beautiful books, really. I'm going to, of course, take a little detour. We have time, right? Yeah, okay. I'm going to move away from my, Sham, I'm going to move away from my prescribed order and introduce two lovely picture books that came prior to Puni. These are two wonderful picture books from Tulika that absolutely work for 2+ year olds, called Where's That Cat and Puni at the Taj Mahal. The thing is, Puni, the cat of this book, is always getting lost. And Minnie, her owner, is always looking for her. So in when this book begins, Puni is lost and Minnie is telling her mother, I don't know where Puni is, and goes off to look for her. Just look at this lovely spread, written by Manjula Padmanabhan and illustrated by her as well, of, finding this naughty cat. The lovely thing is, Minnie is looking for her, and as another child looking at the book, you are also looking for her. And I can't tell you, how much children love it that they have spotted the cat even before Minnie has spotted the Puni somewhere on the page. Of course, Minnie goes off on a hunt and goes off to ask people, and Manjula Padmanabhan recreates city scenes so beautifully. Two sellers, one cow. There's not a thing that you can't ask a child to spot off these pages. And this is one of our favorite books for youngest of readers because it is so full of life. Where's That Cat, written and illustrated by Manjula Padmanabhan, priced at 125 rupees. And the popularity of that book, which resulted in the second one, where Puni goes off to the Taj Mahal. And of course, again, gets lost. It is just lovely. There's just a single line of text. And one of the things that I think about this book that just simply took my breath away is this spectacular top down view of the Taj Mahal. My God. I mean, I'm not sure in real life we'd be able to get a top down view of the Taj Mahal like this, but it's just lovely that Puni is lost and Minnie is looking for her. And on every one of these pages, so is the reader. And it's not just Minnie. You can take a page like this and you can ask your child, when, 2+, to maybe point out to the number of people who are holding cameras, and these little things that make children observe things on pages, they go a long way in developing the skill of observation, the powers of observation. So these two, and this book, I mean, I remember doing a review of it somewhere, and I said, my God, this is a book that will make you say, Vah Puni, Vah Taj. Really fabulous book, set of books for children, written and illustrated by Manjula Padmanabhan. This one priced at 125 and this one at 150 rupees. And the board book that Ramya recommended, Puni Puni, Where Are You?, which was the result of the popularity of these two books. Lovely spotting and finding picture books for our youngest readers. Sorry,
work with books with the restless child. So one of the things that Vimla said was interactive books. So this Puni is one of those.
Muttama said that in a conversation with Vimla, where somebody has asked us a question saying that, how do you engage a restless child? And Vimla from Hippocampus, Bangalore's loveliest library, no doubt, just said that you need to engage with them with interactive books. And Muttama says Puni Puni is definitely one of those interactive books because you can get the child to observe different things and try and get them to engage with each page in different ways. Of course, we showed showcased a whole lot of other interactive books as well, where you could lift flaps and you could pull, lift up flaps or pull things in and out. And, those are the kind of books that will help you keep your youngest reader engaged. And it doesn't matter if they spend only 10 minutes doing it or only 15 minutes doing it. It is important that that time, and once, they feel like doing something else, don't force them to engage with the book, because children will come back to it and engage with it in bits and pieces as time goes by. We are moving to one more beautiful book from Little Latitude stable. And the reason we have so many T4 and Little Latitude books are they're two Indian publishers who've really brought out lots of board books for the youngest readers, besides Tulika doing a couple of rhyme ones, and Tara doing these beautiful tactile ones. This one is called Where Shall We Go, Big Black Crow. And just look at the profusion of colors on the introductory pages. It's about a cheerful crow and her flamboyant friends who go off on a tasty treasure hunt. The thing is, it again, the book has so many interactive elements. The noisy crow was hoarse all day, but she croak, let's fly away. And that's what they do. They decide to fly away. There's dinner waiting somewhere near. Let's look for clues when they appear. And what do you think are the clues? Of course, for parent and child alike, lift this lovely little flap and it tells you, dearest reader, find the nearest clue. Go look for something bright and blue. My God, what fun you can have with such a book. Lifting this flap itself is such a jolly, wonderful, marvelous exercise. Of course, I'm going to lift one more flap simply because I love lifting flaps. And the clue is right here. It says, that's right, she sits upon her swing, but what's that clue beneath her wing? And voila, you just lift a clue right off her beautiful blue wing. Such a tantalizing, book, lively in verse and very, very funny by the time it comes to the end. Again, published by Little Latitude and priced at 500 rupees. One more book from their stable that we do love focusing on is this lovely one, which says, what can you do with red, yellow, and blue? You know already that they are the primary colors, and you can already figure from the cover as the adult that it's going to be about the fantastic intersection between these colors. Again, written in great rhyme and with lots of little things that children can easily identify. Yellow is the mango, so mellow and new. Blue is the hue of the wool of the ewe. Just look at that. Red is the moped that races ahead. Who could want more than blue, yellow, and red? Look at Prashant Miranda's colors. I mean, they just leap off the page. And, I think children would absolutely love reading this book that takes them into the exuberant world of colors and, which really sort of introduces them to different concepts while introducing them to the colors. Smita, can you just bring back that thing? Smita, you said, what can you do with red, yellow, and blue is an all-time favorite. It certainly deserves to be. Splashing glorious colors all through the book. It's such a delight for, as I say, children and obsolete children to behold and read. So all you obsolete children out there watching, go for it, definitely. Okay. Yeah, there was an earlier comment. Padma love how Manjula Padmanabhan was ahead of the cat obsession on Bookstagram. Absolutely a forerunner in every way. Really, cats are the flavor of the season, it seems. There was a new book on our shelf. Thank God it's Cataday that came out, edited, I think, by Lubena Bandukwala, and where several authors have contributed to the collection. And yes, this giant cat obsession on Instagram. In fact, I was just telling Muttama, 2 days ago, I don't know who has, documented this, but cats in bookshops. Somebody has done a photo feature of cats in bookshops. And believe me, for 2 years, we had a cat in our bookshop every day. She would come, she would go to Muttama's room, she would walk around. I mean, books would be shifted around from here and there, and the cat would be ambling around, sleeping sometimes on the shelf in Muttama's room. She was getting fed some chapati or milk or, cat food, basically. And eventually, of course, the great momentous day when she delivered her babies on Sham's lap. So you can see that there is a close connection between cats and bookshops. And when I saw that photo feature, I just couldn't stop laughing myself. I don't know. Maybe cats are really evolved creatures, and that's why, they are roaming the bookshops. Or we like to think that we are the cool cats of this bookshop, basically, right?
Dogs also evolved.
Muttama, of course, hastens to clarify that dogs are also evolved, the great dog lover that she is. But really, as you said, Padma, how wonderful that Manjula created these marvelous books, for our youngest readers.
Vimla said there used to be a magazine store in a basement on Church Street which had multiple cats.
That's right. Vimla, there used to be a magazine store in a basement on Church Street, which had multiple cats. I think you're talking of Habitat. It used to have magazines and records, and it was the most odds and ends kind of store that anyone could go to and get lost in for a couple of hours amidst cats, magazines, books, the eclectic owner, and all of that, really, right? So cats, hooray for cats at the moment. We will, because Ramya had also spoken on the importance of bilingual books. I did want to showcase some for our youngest readers from our collection. And there is this lovely, simple little accordion book, from Ekalavya, called The Red Hill. So when we say accordion book, it literally just opens up like an accordion. You can just put it back like an accordion and open it up like an accordion. And you know what? Front and back, a beautiful wordless story, called The Red Hill, published by Ekalavya in the simple, story card format. In fact, we do have many of Pratham's story cards with us as well. And for those of you who really do want some story cards, please do write into us on our WhatsApp number 99004 or mail us at funkyrainbowmail at gmail.com. Sorry, I almost forgot our own email ID. funkyrainbowmail at gmail.com. This beautiful accordion book, and there is a story, mind you. It's about somebody who is all set to climb up this red hill. You can see it's a tortoise, but I'm now closing the accordion book so you don't get the whole story of this beautiful, charming little book, so attractively priced at 25 rupees. I mean, we featured it under bilingual because, as you can see, there's the Red Hill and there is Lal Pahad. A beautiful little one from Tulika. I'm from Ekalavya. This is another one that we utterly and absolutely love, meant for our youngest readers. This one is called Takita, Tarikita, Bouncing Ball. It works perfectly well for 2+-year-olds, written originally in Malayalam by Jacob Samson Muttada and illustrated by that wonderful writer and illustrator of the Gajapati books, Ashok Rajagopalan. As you can see, bilingual, with just very, very simple lines. Takita, Tarikita, Abu plays with a big red ball. Takita, Tarikita, Takita, Tarikita, the big red ball runs away. And there are mixed sounds right through, the kind of sounds that we were talking about earlier, which we can roll our tongues, around quite easily, but maybe just too complicated for, for the West. And they do perhaps believe that, they do believe that these complicated sounds are very hard for young readers. We think that's not the case. We are perfectly multilingual and perfectly polysyllabic, even as, at a very, very young age. I have a niece who has a Jewish father and who has been, taking a whole host of Indian children's books to read. When he visited last, he said, I loved Gajapati Kulapati. I loved, I could even say Kala Balush, but come on, Vidya. Takita, Tarikita, bouncing ball. You're really testing my, ability to read. And it also moves on to Tindakam, Tindakam, Tindakam Ta. So we say he's well and truly Indian only when he can read this book out very well to his daughter. But a beautiful book about a bouncing ball that goes here, there, everywhere. Priced at 100 rupees. And Muttama reminds me that, the Harmony Chorus, maybe 2 years ago, set the book to beautiful music. So that's one that we wanted to focus on. As all, and one more in this bilingual thing called I'm Going to the Zoo, written by Narendra Jain and illustrated by Alankrita Amaya. Such a charming little picture book in English Hindi about this little girl who is going to the zoo. The zoo I'm going to see, I'm not scared. Why should I be? And then from there on, she's discovering different animals, through her journey into the zoo. Now, as always, the text is in English and in Hindi. And sometimes we really feel, I think the book was originally written in Hindi. So the words just roll off so much more beautifully in Hindi because it was originally written in that language. मैं जाती हूँ चिड़ियाघर, लगता नहीं है मुझको डर. I mean, the words just roll off so easily, in the original language that the book was written in. This one is, of course, available in different languages, English Kannada, English Telugu, all of them up at our bargains section today. Please go to www.funkyrainbow.com. Click on the bargain section on top. All the baby books, that we plan to feature in the bazaar, and I can still see a whole pile of them, next to me. All of them are up at the in the bargain section, and if you click that link, you can look at the whole variety of books that we have recommended and the ones that we have not been able to recommend also. And if they suit your interests and requirements, you could pick them up. This one published by Tulika and priced at 160 rupees. We have another one from T4 Tales again called Kahani Purani. Again, this is, in English, in Hindi and transliterated in English. This Purani Kahani is the story of Ram. एक हुए थे राजा राम, बहुत बड़ा था उनका नाम. So there is the text in Hindi and then again immediately after that in English, but not in translation, exactly writing the Hindi words in English. Happily, this is also a wonderful flat book. So Raja Ram, you pull this and you can see that there are flowers being showered upon Raja, upon the Raja. This is the story of Rama and Sita, something that you can enjoy with your little one in this wonderfully interactive board book. He says, Lakshman chote bhaiya the, bahut hi pyare bhaiya the. And Lakshman is handing over something to you. So there's a book which he's handing over to you. And of course, you turn the circle and there could be a little toy that he's handing over to you. I'm not sure the interactive thing is coming through clearly, but I'm turning the circle and voila, there's a plate full of laddus which he's offering out to you. It's a very, very simple story. I mean, a very simplified version of the Ramayana, just telling you the story of Ram and Sita with flaps and tabs and in a wonderful board book format, priced at 499 rupees and put together by T4 Tales. Do we have time for some more recommendations? I will make one or two more, and I will open another beautiful tactile book in our collection called Knock Knock. Now I want laddus, says Nalini Sorensen. Yes, indeed. I mean, the book, there are several of these books that make you, really look for exactly what they're talking about. Like that book of Chacho in the Amazon. I was like, my God, I want to go there now, now, now. So I'm not surprised, Nalini, that you want the laddus.
Tantrum like a baby.
Muttama is saying you're throwing a tantrum like a baby. Watch it. You might just, get shouted at, basically. But Knock Knock, beautiful book. In fact, this is called a building a book. This is about a girl who's looking for her bear. She comes in and she's knocking at the door and she wants to find her bear. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to do much justice to it the way it is. And she then asks, is my bear there? Then, the book opens up like this and knock, knock. So then she's going to look for her bear. Then she says, knock, knock, is my bear there? Just a few lines. But just look at how this beautiful book unfolds. And each knock, knock, the same author, illustrator of as Speaker Book, Kaori Takahashi, has done this gorgeous book, and each time she knocks, she's going into these beautiful rooms full of all kinds of things. Like this room has various paintings and artwork put up. And, when she goes, there's even a room that she goes into where she meets Santa Claus. And oh my God, it's an enchanting book which you should actually literally put out on the floor and enjoy with your children. I'm going to say, I'm not going to reveal what happens when you open it out fully. So it goes up like a building, pretty much exactly like a building. And I'm not going to say what happens when you reach the top of the building, but you really have to, read and interact with this gorgeous book to find out. It's absolutely one of our most treasured tactile books at Funky Rainbow from Tara. Knock Knock, priced at 500 rupees. It's a beautiful quest. It's an adventure that literally, I will say, unfolds. And that adventure unfolds for you. It unfolds for the child that you're that you're reading the book to, or the child who's actually attempting to do this himself, or herself. Megha Gupta says, Knock Knock is a favorite with the little boy I know. It is a favorite toy, though. Okay, that's great. I mean, the book is so wonderfully tactile that it really, Chainika Sen says, waiting for my copy of Knock Knock. Off to you on Monday. Definitely, Chainika. Thank you so much for ordering. Or should I say, it'll be knocking on your doors very, very soon. Okay. Fabulous, glorious, tactile book. And, really, it's lovely that our toddlers and infants have these wonderful books to grow up with, and I'm so glad that this whole treasure hunt that we embarked in, revealed so many wonderful books, for our youngest readers at the Baby Buzzaar. I think we're out of time. Maybe I'm just going to recommend one or two more. That's it. This was a set of 4 little board books that came to us, really teeny tiny board books, actually, that came to us. Actually, the author had written to Muttama, right? She got in touch with you and she says she has sort of, they're called the, early learning systems, the Lychee early learning systems, I think, basically. And they are teeny tiny board books. Like this is Jungle Jamboree, which is set in a little jungle. I mean, such a cute little tiny size, as you can see, and it is well and truly a jungle jamboree. There's deep in the jungle, sights and sounds jumble. So, you know that you're going to be introduced to various creatures in the jungle with very, very little text. Such a bite sized book like this to hold in your hand, also priced very nicely at 129 rupees. What is her name? Dhriti had sent them to Muttama, and we felt really when there are so few board books in the Indian context, we should have some of these tiny wonders with us as well. Even Counting Underwater, and each of them introduces you to some little concept. Now, this is one little octopus underwater, two very happy sharks, underwater. So that's Counting Underwater. There is Nature Watching, the third book in the series, which focuses on shapes in nature. As you can see, there's the sun, then the heart like a leaf, there are stars. Very, very nice way to introduce children to the concept of shapes, as well as nature. I mean, there's very shapes that you can find in nature.
Children can hold it, so imitating you reading, they feel very important.
Muttama says that they are so compact to be held that even littlest of children can hold it, which means they can sort of imitate your own action if you are reading and holding a book. This one called Cruising Together, about different vehicles that you can see around you. There's a plane, there is a steam engine, there's a taxi, and little simple lovely board books at priced at 129 rupees each, and available at a special discounted price at our bazaar today. Maybe the book that I intended to close with, and I know that we have several more, so really urge you all to go to the bargain section on www.funkyrainbow.com and look at all the books that we've put out. Every single one of them is suitable for 0 to 3-year-olds. Some can even be read much later, as Ramya said, whether it's an Indian beach or whether it's Puni. I think children who are 5, 6, 7 can enjoy many of these books. So are there any hellos to say, Muttama, before we wrap up? I have one last book to showcase before we wrap up. But I'm just quickly going to say hello to many, many of you. Nitya Raju, thank you for joining us. Santosh Sebastian, a pleasure as always. Hashim Marikar, so lovely to see you here. Mahalakshmi ma'am, absolutely a pleasure. Now you know when your nursery kids too have wonderful books that you can pick up from Funky Rainbow. Alpana Varma, lovely to see you. Rituparna Ghosh, lovely to have you at the bazaar. Delighted that you as a storyteller are watching us, and hopefully many of these books will go into your fabulous stories. Anita Matthew, Raju Mishra, and GP Singh, what a pleasure to have you all here. It is Onam coming up, and I know many of you are watching us from Kerala. So everybody at Team Funky Rainbow wishes all of you a happy Onam, and we hope there is a feast of books in your lives always. The book that I wanted to conclude with was another beautiful one from Little Latitude, and I felt it was right because we were doing baby books. This one is called When I Grow Up. So it is, I mean, we want, I know many of us don't want our little babies to grow up at all, but grow they do with all these wonderful books. This one is about little babies growing up into being, bigger creatures. For instance, there's a baby bird, and it says, I'm a baby bird. I cannot fly. I want to soar in the big blue sky. When I grow up, I'm going to be a big chirping bird flying gracefully. So each of the babies in the book wants to become like a bigger wants to grow up. So like a little cat a little kitty wanting to become a big cat, a little chick wanting to become a big rooster and do all those things that roosters do. It's written in rhyme, which means it lends itself beautifully to be narrated. The chick says, my chick voice is still squeaky. I can't awaken anyone sleepy. When I grow up, I'm going to be a big strutting rooster crowing boisterously. Imagine the sounds that you can recreate with your child. And we just felt that our babies do grow up. So here's a beautiful book to grow up with. When I Grow Up, written by Noella Menon and illustrated by Kavita Arvind, published by Little Latitude. Again, a fantastic board book, priced at 500 rupees. It's been an absolute pleasure to present this baby book bazaar to all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I can see, one of you, Smita, you're saying it was so much fun watching you guys live. Thank you so much for the recommendations for babies and toddlers. You are never too young to read. We firmly believe that that's the case, at Funky Rainbow. And that's what we want all of you to take back home today, that you're never too young to read, or you're never too old to read either. So like I said, many of us who are much, much older revel and enjoy reading these books too. Thank you so much for joining us at the Baby Book Bazaar today. Thank you actually for setting our team off on a giant treasure hunt to find all these gorgeous books, from our collection. Vaishali Chakravarti, you say, please keep doing this. Most definitely, yes, as long as we have your support and people like you come and look at our books and consider using them in your programs, in your own lives, we will certainly keep doing the bazaar. Remember, when I started, I said we have 7,500 plus books in our collection. And there's obviously very, very many bazaars that can be done. Happy Onam to all of you at Funky Rainbow. In fact, I'm making inji curry, ginger curry for Onam as I'm watching you guys. My God, our mouths are watering. We want the inji curry, we want the laddus, we want the Onam sadhya. We have a feast of books here. So one day when the world is going to be absolutely normal, we want all of you to travel here, feast on food, feast on books, feast with us at Funky Rainbow. Thank you so much for joining us at this bazaar. It's been a pleasure being with you this Saturday morning. Thank you.